An evening flurry had left a fresh blanket of snow across town, unsullied but for the footfalls of the locals, all headed to the same place. The steps snaked from every direction, yet they coalesced in front of the tavern, where a sign swung lazily by lamplight. The swaying shadows it cast almost seemed to beckon passers-by with umbrous fingers, a promise of meat and mead and a warm hearth. The stranger waded through the snow toward this beacon, and he came bearing a promise of his own. He took a place by the hearth and warmed his hands over the fire. The spirited tumult of conversation hushed the moment the stranger opened the rosewood case and proffered his loot. He hadn't the faintest idea how to cast the simplest of illusion spells, yet this gesture had captured the undivided attention of every patron, even the rowdiest drunkards. The stranger delicately turned the pegs, humming as they came into tune. This night, the walls of the tavern would flow with the magic of music. The stranger sang of great heroes like Isgramor the Harbinger and Wulfharth the Grey Wind, his voice filling the room like a rallying cry. And then came a soft croon as the stranger intoned the tragedy of Shaw's death. Each note he plucked was a tear falling from Kyne's cheek, a widow's lament. Then silence. Only a few moments, but enough to make everyone embrace the absence of sound and feel at peace. Finally, with a handful of rollicking chords, the familiar tune of Ragnar the Red flooded the tavern with joy and laughter. There is magic in music that resonates with all living things. It is as undeniable as it is inexplicable. But in Tamriel, this magic permeates in all things. When you start to listen, you realise it's all-encompassing. The gods are bards, and mortals the orchestra. Hey guys, it's Drew here, and welcome back to Fudge Muppet. The Elder Scrolls is a song, and music is at the heart of the Orbis. We all know the skalds of Skyrim, the flutists, lutists, drummers and poets. But the music I'm referring to goes beyond that, and has pervaded in the mortal realm since the very beginning. In today's video, we're going to explore all the ways this magic manifests. Where better to start than with the god of song? Known to the Aldmer as Jephre, and Jephre to the Bosmer. Every culture has their own interpretation on the dawn, but common consensus is that the Aedra who committed their power to creation formed the bones of the new world, allowing it to flourish and endure the passage of Auriel's time. In the early days, when the elven folk walked Old Elnafey alone, untroubled by the wandering men, Jephre the singer walked with them, and he sang songs of power amongst the trees and stars. Jephre gave heed to the nature of the forests and delighted in the gurgling streams and brooks. It was Jephre who taught the birds to sing their songs of the seasons, and he that taught the streams the tinkling ethereal tune. The very trees are said to have moved close to hear him sing on the warm summer nights of those elder days. It was in this time that the first great ballads of the elves were made, crafted from the songs that Jephre taught to the sylvan youth, who frolicked to his lively tunes and ballads of nature and the unspoiled forest. On the Isle of Somerset, Jephre taught the great seabirds to sing and moulded the crash of waves against the beach into a song of whispers and power. And these birds kept watch for Jephre, in repayment for the songs he taught them. Even the Dark Elves, who long ago denounced the Aedra in favour of their profane Daedra, have legends regarding the storyteller. One such legend says that Jephre walked the earth before the first day, and in the light of the stars weaved a song so beautiful that the very stars moved to its sway. Some of the stars to this very day still wink and blink in memory of the song of night and darkness. Due to his influence, most if not all elven bards pay homage to Jephre. But perhaps the most significant impact Jephre has had on the cultures of Tamriel comes from the creation story of the Bosmer Wood Elves. To them he is Jephre. Once there was nothing but formlessness, the land held no shape, the trees did not harden into timber and bark, and the elves themselves shifted from form to form. This formlessness was called the ooze, but Jephre took the ooze and ordered it. He sang the green song, giving shape to the forests and plants. Then he spun a second song and told the story of the elves who would inhabit this new and wonderful world. Finally, he sang the beasts into existence, giving them legs to crawl the land, fins to swim the rivers, and wings to fly in the air. If you were to ask these elves, they would say all of nature's gifts are musical. The consistency of the tides and the steady wash of waves on Tamriel's shores are the meter, giving the song its time signature. The natural cycle of life and death repeating every generation is the refrain, the chorus of this grand composition. And every mortal who has ever lived is a part of the ensemble, from lowly serfs to esteemed emperors, great and small, they're all instrumental. As you can imagine, music is an essential part of mortal life. Bards have their lutes and flutes, drums and horns are used on battlefields, and in the most remote tribes of Argonia. In the palaces of Somerset, harps are played for their sophisticated elegance. There are accordions, bells, fifes, gongs, lyres, clockwork boxes and organs. There are tambourines, tamburs, trumpets and whistles, and so many more. But I'm not going to get bogged down talking about all of these instruments, because music is more than it seems in the Elder Scrolls universe. Which race inhabited Greater Tamriel first has long been a subject of debate. Some stories tell that the elves came from Aldmeris, landed in Somerset, and then eventually spread to the mainland in various diasporas. Others claim that the elves always lived in Tamriel, and the continents of men, Yokudan, Admora and Akaviri were once connected to it, but were separated in the Great Elnathay War. Whatever the case, it seems that of all races, the dwarves were among the first elves to take up residence on the mainland. Their exodus, if such an exodus took place, was never documented. The Dwemer, also known as the Deep Elves, got their name from their decision to inhabit the subterranean reaches of Tamriel, initially confined to the north and northeast. Dwarven citadels are vast and sprawling. Many of these cities existed in giant caverns that spanned for leagues in every direction. These caves were not naturally formed. The Dwemer used a strange and now forgotten magic called tonal architecture. By manipulating sound, the Dwemer discovered a way to alter reality. According to a contemporary Dwemer scholar named Voronara Cleave, at the height of their power, the Dwemer exhibited near total mastery of tonal forces. Sound, not magic, facilitated their rise to power. The Dwemer used sound in mining, medicine, architecture, even psychology. The true potential of tonal architecture was never fully realised beyond the confines of their underground dominions. Cleave attributes this to the scale and complexity of their machines, which likely made transportation nearly impossible. According to ancient Chimeri scholarship, the Dwemer could employ tonal forces to bend weaker minds to their will, a form of complex oral hypnosis. If the legends are true, their tonal resonators were incredibly complex architectural wonders. They stood taller than the most imposing giants, and filled cavernous chambers with pipes, dials and pistons. When enabled, the resonators released a series of powerful tones that could alter the brainwaves of lesser Murran men, inducing deep calm and profound pleasure, or even paranoia and terror. The uses for such a device are virtually limitless. Due to their disappearance, the only real understanding we have of the complexities of tonal architecture comes from what we can discover in the depths of ancient ruins. But without a doubt, sound and vibration were at the core of their greatest power. When mining beneath Red Mountain, the Dwemer found a great magical stone that resonated with a rhythm even more profound than their own, the heart of Lorkhan. Finally, Trinomac, Auriel's greatest knight, knocked Lorkhan down in front of his army and reached in with more than hands to take his heart. He was undone. The men dragged Lorkhan's body away and swore blood vengeance on the heirs of Auriel for all time. But when Trinomac and Auriel tried to destroy the heart of Lorkhan, it laughed at them. It said, "This heart is the heart of the world, for one was made to satisfy the other." So Auriel fastened the thing to an arrow and let it fly long into the sea, where no aspect of the new world may ever find it. Only it was found by a race of iconoclasts who were undaunted by such a divine source of power. The heart of Lorkhan, also known as the Doom Drum, is the still beating heart of Mundus's creator. In a figurative sense, the heart is the drum that sets the world's tempo. But in a literal sense, Lord Kagranak and his tonal architects hope to tap its power by harmonizing with its divine frequency. To do this, the chief tonal architect created 3 tools. Wraithguard was an enchanted gauntlet designed to protect its wearer from destruction when tapping the heart's power. Sunder was an enchanted hammer made to strike the heart and produce the exact volume and quality of power desired. Keening was an enchanted blade, used to flay and focus the power that rose from the heart. Kagranak's tools were essentially percussion mallets, and the heart an instrument. There is a theory that coincides with this, which suggests that natural disasters like volcanic eruptions and earthquakes are actually a form of magic. If sound has magical properties, and vibrations such as those used in tonal architecture can alter reality, then the magnitude of an earthquake's power is immense. If Nirn's tectonic plates shake violently, then the Adric earthbones are being reshaped. The School of Alteration focuses on magic that alters reality and the rules of nature. And in this regard, natural disasters that cause the world to vibrate fit the very definition of this form of magic. Once you start to look for correlation between magic and music, examples spring up everywhere, in a multitude of cultures all over Tamriel and beyond. When the Nords came to Tamriel from the frigid tundras of Atmora, they discovered a power that has since become synonymous with them. This power is of course the Fum, the Storm Voice. Even before Kain implored Parthenax to share this power with the Nords, the Northmen have always had an affinity for wind and the breath. They believe themselves to be the children of the sky, for they came into being when Kain exhaled upon the throat of the world. Learning the voice further entrenched this belief. The breath and the voice are the vital essence of a Nord. When they defeat great enemies, they take their tongues as trophies. These are woven into ropes and can hold speech like an enchantment. The power of a Nord can be articulated into a shout, like the ki of an Akaviri swordsman. The strongest of their warriors are called tongues. When the Nords attack a city, they take no siege engines or cavalry. The tongues form in a wedge in front of the gatehouse and draw in breath. When the leader lets it out in a ki, the doors are blown in, and the axemen rush into the city. Shouts can be used to sharpen blades or to strike enemies. A common effect is the shout that knocks an enemy back, or the power of command. A strong Nord can instill bravery in men with his battle cry, or stop a charging warrior with a roar. The greatest of the Nords can call to specific people over hundreds of miles, and can move by casting a shout, appearing where it lands. The most powerful Nords cannot speak without causing destruction. They must go gagged, and communicate through a sign language and through scribing runes. Once again, sound, vibration, music, these elements are often found in the most potent manifestations of magic in the mortal realm. That excerpt from Children of the Sky also mentioned the ki of an Akaviri swordsman. Little is known of Akavir, the races that inhabit it, and the strange powers they possess. We can get some idea from the Akaviri invasions, and the assimilation of the Sayesi into the Empire. But other than that, all we really have is the book titled Mysterious Akavir, which paints a picture of a bizarre land full of alien creatures. There are snow demons, vampiric serpents, placid monkey folk, and tiger dragons. Beyond the one mention, nothing else is known of this ki, but a ki is a technique performed by martial artists. It is a short, emphatic shout uttered when performing an attacking move, for the purpose of startling, intimidating, or expressing confidence. Perhaps this Akaviri ki is simply a custom, but the comparison to the Fum suggests that it might be arcane in nature. On the other side of the known world, to the west of Tamriel, the Yokudans came wielding their own magical martial art. The philosophy is called the Way of the Sword, and the art is most commonly called sword singing. You may be thinking that sword singing is just a poetic name for sword fighting, likely due to the grace and speed with which sword singers dance and strike. But there is also an element of the martial art that is musical. The Yokudan people were once artisans, poets and scholars, but the ever-evolving strife in Yokuda made the Way of the Sword inevitable. These artists channeled their creativity into combat. The song of the blade through the air, through flesh and bone, its ring against armour. Martial arts are often taught and understood using choreographed moves and techniques, following an innate rhythm. The singers call this the Song of the Blade. Skilled sword singers may even learn the secret to manifesting a shihai, a spirit sword, the culmination of years of creativity, resulting in a spiritual instrument perfectly crafted to sing their Song of Swords. There is another unlikely place where music as magic is preached, and that is in the fallen 6th house of Old Resdain. Following the Battle of Red Mountain, Vorin Dagoth was presumed dead, and his house faded into obscurity. But the customs of this once great house endured, and rose again when Dagoth stirred beneath the volcano. Dagoth says, "I am the Sharmat, I am older than music." From the heart chamber, Dagoth unleashed ash storms on Morrowind, and the winds carried divine pestilence, a strange form of the blight that deteriorated the minds and bodies of those it touched. But to Dagoth, Corpus was a gift, for it provided immortality, and to those enlightened enough to embrace the divine disease, great power was granted. For the unfortunate majority, Corpus meant mindlessness and eternal suffering. These were the Stalkers and Lame Corpus. Then there were the Ash Zombies, who did not suffer the same grotesque deformations as the aforementioned pair, but instead lost their eyes and nose. These sorry souls were left senseless and afraid, aware of their fate. Ash Slaves and Ash Vampires were luckier. They were bestowed with great power, and formed the new noble class of the reawakened Sixth House. Ash Poets are distinguishable by the worm-like proboscis protruding from their faces. Finally, there are the Ascended Sleepers, those who were given the greatest of Dagothar's gifts. They are intelligent and enlightened. Although monstrous in appearance, their perforated trunk-like facial organs seem vital to their wisdom, and concept art depicts them playing music from these manifold pipes. Additionally, House Dagoth shrines feature bells and chimes, which seem to be sacred to their traditions and customs. There is a work of fiction called The Poison Song that claims descendants of the dead house can still hear the songs of their ancestors, but whether that is based in fact is a mystery. Since the Sixth House fell from favour long ago in the First Era, it's hard to say whether music was always vital to their culture, or whether it came later. But I think it was always there. I think, like the Dwemer, Dagoth was transfixed by the mesmerising thump of the heart of Lorkhan. In it he saw immense power and potential, and he felt this magic in the form of a steady, pulsating rhythm. The Elder Scrolls is a song, and the greatest mortals who have ever walked Tamriel all have one thing in common. They listened and took up the tune. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. My name is Drew, you've been watching Fudge Muppet, and I'll see you in the next one.